I think we are seeing an increase in small hospitals, and I don't know whether it's business driven or personal interest of veterinarians trying to have smaller practices. Perhaps the smaller practices are a result of finding a slot in a demographic area that is between two existing practices that they think they could fill and fill a business niche that's not being filled. But in any case, I'm seeing an increase in smaller hospitals. Again.
Yeah, I agree. We said that after the recession was over, one of the trends we saw was an increase in leasehold practices, which is, of course, generally they're small practices. Right. But we find that a lot of the younger veterinarians actually are quite entrepreneurial. So the whole concept that they aren't entrepreneurial does not seem to be the case. But they have larger debt loads and they have more challenges in that way to get into owning a piece of real estate. So we are seeing some smaller buildings than we saw for the last few years. And I think that's great, actually. Whatever it takes to get in and own, at least be building your practice, if it's a leasehold, or owning some real estate and building your business, whatever it takes. So we are seeing quite a few smaller practices being built these days.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned about leaseholds predominantly, because we aren't seeing 3,000, 3,500 square foot freestanding buildings anymore. And I think that's because, first of all, small sites, a half acre or less, aren't even available anymore. You can't buy under an acre of commercial property anymore. And the second is that you can't really build a freestanding building for under $1.5 million anymore when you add the cost of site work and parking lots and all of the other costs that are on top of just building a building. So if you don't build a 7,000 square foot building, oftentimes your only options are finding a small building you can renovate or leasing.
Absolutely. And in fact, we see some diminishing returns in the smaller size of building, that it doesn't really make sense to build that 3,000 square foot building because you're going to get so much more bang for your buck. And so it makes the leasehold a bit more palatable. We also see one trend of buying smaller buildings, like office buildings that are reasonable to convert.